Alright guys, such coming again today. Hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. Scrims are probably getting underway here in Black Ops 7, but lots of talk last night about the current weapon balancing in the game. Also some class updates we're going to get into as well. Shotzzy and Dashy's classes, especially looking pretty interesting so far. But will these weapons survive the test of time? Scrap already wants the M15 to be banned. He reckons it's way too strong. Even Octane believes the ARs in general right now are dominating the meta to a degree that they should not. Do changes seriously need to be made? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into, starting with a couple of things here from Beans. RenkoR says V's are finally approved. So, good news, right? I mean, it's not something that we often really think about. It's like, okay, well, they've signed the players, so presumably it'll be fine. It's not always fine, and thankfully that's all sorted. Some organisations are certainly better than others when it comes to getting these visas approved, and the process is done in a reasonable time frame. Of course, even then, not optimal, right? RenkoR would presumably like to have been there from release so he can play with the team and all this, but that may set them back just a few days in terms of their practice in Black Ops 7. But of course, that is a significant amount of learning that needs to be gone through. Beans is like, okay, yeah, thankfully all sorted, it seems, from his side as well. One other thing on Beans we will talk about in a second. I did want to go through a couple of more movement clips. So here we are on Raid, and we can see that this character on the right is, well, hitting the wall bounce and then kind of like sliding across the floor, almost like a Nagafen slide from back in Advanced Warfare. So again, we talked a lot about the wall bounce, the way that it works, the fact that you can pop off that wall pretty easily. There's lots going on raids in terms of, we know how the map traditionally has been played. Let's say Black Ops 3, I mean, I've done it again, but all the maps that came out in that game, you're not expecting them to play like any other map because you know that there's new movement, so the maps are going to play different. Raid, when it came back in Cold War, it basically played the same way. Within reason, the guns are a bit different on Cold War, so the AK-74 you could map people, unlike the MSMC, so that changed the way that you played. The movement was faster in BO Cold War than it was in Black Ops 2, so that changed things, but fundamentally the map played very similarly, certainly in terms of the way that Hardpoint was played and all this. But in this game, there are going to be changes, because you brought the movement into play. Some of the movement mechanics, some of the jump spots that you can go for information, they will change. And, well, it's stuff like this. You bounce off the wall and then slide sideways. That's going to be a difficult gunfight to win if you've got little aim assist, and we know that is a thing in this game. So that's one thing to think about. The OpTic guys also very much getting underway here in Search and Destroy. This again is on Scar, a map that does look like it's going to be probably played this season. A couple of nades going from Shotzzy and Huke. That was a pretty good start for them. They're playing with Zinni here, actually. He was getting involved in some of their action last night. So, yeah, those guys looking good early days. No surprises there. But Scrim is also getting underway as well. So we talked a little bit earlier today about what was going on with the Stallions. And as Shotzzy says, OpTic Texas Scrims. This also pretty remarkable. We've seen no gameplay yet, understandably, of Overload. That should not be much of a surprise. There haven't really been any Overload tournaments going on, as you wouldn't really expect. It's all Search and Destroy mainly, some Hardpoint as well, but JP has this like program together, right? Now, presumably nothing here is confidential information because he's tweeted it out, so I thought I'd share everything if you guys kind of know what's going on here. But anyway, so he put together all these like documents and files, right, so he can track the scrims and all this. And of course, when you add a new game mode, that requires, there's a load of features in that game mode that need adding anyway. So he's put this together in Python. Thought that was pretty cool. But we'll see, is Overload going to be a good mode? Is it going to be worth playing, right? Are the pros actually going to like it? Time will very much tell on that one, because there will be opinions either way once they properly start playing this game mode in the near future. But the main thing I wanted to get into here today was the balance of the weapons. So Scrap says, yo chat, do you think the M19 with iron sight, now he does mean the M15 here, we'll clarify in a second, should be allowed? Now, look, do we want guns to be banned day one or day two? Probably not. But the M15 was damn good in the beta, and it's also very good in the real game as well. What's interesting is, when we look at the stats in a second, it's actually not that dominant. Statistically, it's actually not dominant at all. But it has no recoil, pretty much, and with the iron sight it's pretty good, so it does allow you a very strong weapon. But if they banned the M19, I can guarantee there'd be another AR comes along in the current state of the balance that is basically just as good. So Scrap says a one gun meta is good for you. Now, first of all, the pros always have a one AR, one SMG meta. Kind of what he's saying is that right now the SMGs aren't especially viable because the AR is very good, the handling on it, the movement is very good. I think that's the other thing that you find when advanced movement comes in, is that the ARs tend to be a little better because you can still use the advanced movement with the ARs. You go back to a game like Infinite Warfare, to be fair, the SMGs were also pretty underpowered at the start of that game, but because the K-bar and the NV4, you can double jump, wall run, do all the jetpacking movements, it kind of took away one of the big SMG advantages. Go back to Black Ops 2, the ARs were not slow, the LMGs were very slow, but the SMGs were significantly faster. The movement speed was significantly faster than ARs. The strafing speed, certainly without stock, was very slow on the ARs in Black Ops 2. So there was a clear feeling that, okay, you run an SMG, you gain the movement speed advantage, you lose in other aspects. In recent titles, certainly now that movement is much more prevalent again, that's not really an advantage for the SMGs anymore. They don't really have that handling. They have some handling advantage in terms of how fast the gun comes up from sprinting and all these things. But they don't have the movement advantage, the strafe speed advantage that they used to have. And that's especially true when you add movement into it, when everyone can wall bounce, everyone can have a massive slide around a corner. So the SMGs lose some of their potency, and as a result we move more towards an AR meta. That might not be a bad thing for guys like Scrap, for guys like Dashy, but Scrappy believes that if it goes this way, we might just be running an AR, and like every player, or at least the majority of players will run an AR. As I say, you go back to Advanced Warfare maybe even, the SMGs in that game for a time were simply not used. It was the BAL, Advanced Call of Duty BAL Warfare, people called it, because some of them, sometimes there were 6, 7, 8 of them on the map at a time. This game, will it be like that? Not necessarily, but as Scrap says, you know, whatever the do-it-all AR is, it's got to go, as far as he understands right now. And to be fair to Scrap, people do agree. I don't think they should do this. The problem that you get, let's say that they banned the M15. They were like, this gun's too strong, we're going to GA it, because you know the pros love to do that. What if then they nerf all the ARs and they buff all the SMGs or something like that? Then all of a sudden, is that weapon still banned? Because usually the answer is yes. Once the pros ban something, it very, very rarely comes back off the ban list. So I think it's worth holding fire. And I don't really think the M15 is that good compared to the other weapons. As Parasite says, gun balance though is so bad. There are like 3 or 4 guns max that are easy to use, not even best in class statistically, so everyone uses them. So that is exactly true. The rest of the guns recoil so egregiously or aim in slower than a sloth or sometimes both. SMGs specifically are so underwhelming here. So I think that is the point. That, as we'll see in a second, actually right now, these are the time to kills on the assault rifles. The M50 is actually the worst of all of them on pure time to kill. Now, it's not slow exactly, but it's not fast. You can see here the M15 in the purple. Doesn't really matter the range. It will kill at 300 and, what is it, 12 or something, 312 milliseconds. Every other AR kills faster theoretically, but many of them it's more challenging to do. As I say, if they got rid of the M15, would they find another AR option which they can throw a load of attachments on and is basically equally as good? Probably, to be honest. But you can see here that the M15, it's very stable, incredibly consistent in the time to kill. It just doesn't drop off. But also it just doesn't really have recoil, isn't hard to use at all. Look, the aiming is still challenging in this game because the aim assist is weaker. That I think is a good thing, but the ARs right now do look pretty damn good. And even Octane says it, right? Can you believe it? The main man for big AR propaganda, he's coming out with the following. Can't believe I'm saying this, but the subs need a buff across the board. ARs are running Black Ops 7 as of now, paid for by the lobby for Big Sub. So, yeah, Big Sub versus Big AR, once again, doing battle in the corporate battlegrounds. But it does appear that Big Sub might be winning for now because, you know, Big AR, they've got their way this year, that is for sure. So that's kind of that state of affairs. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below whether changes are necessary there. There's also been some talk about the time to kill, right, and the speed of it. Now, to be fair, 300 millisecond time to kill, is not actually that fast. Like, you do die quick in this game, that is for sure, but you go back to a game like COD Ghosts, you would die in 140 milliseconds. Sub 200 was possible. Now, back then, especially like a game like Black Ops 2, where the numbers weren't that dissimilar, to be fair, like, you know, you would die in 200 milliseconds, 0.2 of a second if they hit all the bullets, right? But the time to kill didn't feel quite as fast because the hit registration wasn't quite as good, the weapons were harder to use, they recoiled a bit more, the aim assist wasn't as strong as it has been today. So there's multiple reasons why the time to kill over time has actually got somewhat slower, but it doesn't necessarily feel it. And the difference in feel between, you know, 2 tenths and 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths, you know, that is a blink of an eye, right? So it is a relatively small difference, but Ghosty is wondering whether we could buff the health. Now, the issue is, of course, buffing the health is that you then have to redo the balance of every single gun, because some weapons they're balanced with 100 HP in mind. You make it 125 or 150. Some weapons don't need an extra bullet to kill because of the way that their numbers are. Some guns do, so it completely changes things in terms of balance. There was even a playlist, I forget what it was called, I think it was Black Ops 2, you could throw on, I think they call it heavy duty, but it would give you 130 health rather than 100. That was an option. We have seen in recent titles playing around with 150 health on occasion. So I don't think they're going to do this, but Ghosty thinks that, you know, this time to kill is really fast. But to be honest, combined with the aim assist changes, I think it's probably fine. And anyway, Bean says, please remove headshot multiplier in CDL rules. This is another interesting debate on whether headshot multiplier should be a thing or not. In COD, so in Counter-Strike, this is a no-brainer, right? The quality of the gunplay is higher and people can be more precise on a mouse and keyboard anyway, so the fact that a headshot in Counter-Strike is a 4x multiplier is very much justified. In COD, if that multiplier is 1.4, which it has sometimes been, that's still a big deal, right? That will drop the time to kill by a bullet in many scenarios. Is that fair? Well, you'd think, well, yeah, you aim for their heads. Obviously, you should be rewarded for that. That is true to a degree. But a lot of times in COD, the headshots are pretty random. Like, you get recoil kicked into someone's head and then you kill them faster. That's how it is sometimes. But also, if you're on a heady and all that's showing is your head and they can, you know, shoot a couple of bullets in and take you off it quicker, then maybe that's justified, right? The other argument on headshot multiplier is that it should only be in if it takes deliberate aiming for the head to make it work. So, for example, in Black Ops Cold War, you may remember, the Krig was the main AR. At the start of the game's life cycle, if you had one headshot, it would take it from a 5-shot kill down to a 4-shot kill. They changed that so you needed 2. So you had to get 2 headshots and 2 body shots. That would kill them, otherwise it was a 5-shot to kill. And that meant that you probably had to aim for their head. You wouldn't just get a random lucky headshot and take your time to kill down by a shot. If you deliberately aimed for the head, you could kill them faster than they could kill you. And that was a thing that people did, and that did, I think, actually add to the skill gap in the game. So, in my opinion, headshot multiplier should be such that it is, I think it should be there, but I think it should be balanced in a way that it forces people to actually aim for their head if they want to take advantage of it, rather than just, you know, like in Ghosts, there were some guns that had like a 2x headshot multiplier, and it would just be totally random whether you got melted or not. Final thing, a couple of classes to have a look at here. This is the Shotzzy Drazah class that he's been running for the first couple of days or so, so I wanted to share this for you guys if you want to take a couple of notes. If you guys do want to see all of the day 1, day 2 classes, have a look on Breaking Point GG. We've got them all over there. This is Dashy's M15 as well. As I say, this is what a lot of the guys are currently running, but over the coming days that may change very quickly, especially if Scrap gets his way. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.